Hey, what's up, guys? Node Investor here. We are live, finally on. Thank you all for being here today on this wonderful, what day is it? Wednesday? It's always hard to tell in crypto land. The day never ends. It's always a 24/7 market. Wherever you are, wherever you may be, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is my mid-afternoon. I thought I'd do an earlier live stream today, catch some of you other folks that always have to suffer with the 3 a.m. live streams. So good to have you all. I'm going to give you the good news, the bad news, the not so bad news, and we'll talk Bitcoin. I'll take a look at the charts, give you my thoughts on what I'm thinking, and then we'll do some charts and anything else you guys want to talk about. So Dublin, Ireland in the house. We got people from all over. I love it. And so I'm just catching up with some of your guys' comments here, but I'll take a look here and we'll talk Bitcoin first and foremost. So let's get to it. So real quick, this is BTC on Coinbase. Let me go to BTC Bitstamp here. And I mean, the short of it is it's a choppy market. And you guys all feel that pain, right? It's just up, down, sideways. And you can see here looking at this 4-hour chart, the big spikes to the top, the big spikes to the bottom, big spikes up. And it just all over the place. Kind of annoying. But here's what I'm thinking. Let me zoom out a little bit, right? So let's kind of take a big picture view of where we have come from. So you can see the downtrend. I've got the line drawn here. It's still very much in place, right? There is this broader downtrend on the daily chart, lower highs, lower low. That's still there. So certainly not a bullish looking chart. And we've got a long ways before we can start reversing that. But if you start looking near term, what I'm starting to see is potential double bottoms. And I'm seeing double bottoms on a lot of charts, different time frames as well. And so you can see we had that first big double bottom here a few weeks back. Then we rallied, hit that high around 17.1, 17.2. Then that started this most recent downtrend, which had that big spike low last week. And so that's the first bottom I'm looking at. And potentially the second bottom that's starting to form here on the right side of this. And I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, that's good. If you zoom in a little bit here on this 4-hour chart, seeing that, but I'm also seeing within the 4-hour some double bottoms within that time period, right? So if you start looking at this here, you can see we had the big wedge. If you guys were following on Twitter, I did post that wedge. Once we broke, we went to the downside, ended up at this first low here, right around 10K, rallied a little bit to almost 11 basically, and then pulled right back, retested that low, and here we are trying to rally again. And then these last couple days just been real choppy, just kind of all over the place, sideways action. Makes it tough, right, to do really anything in particular other than just either sit tight and ride it out, or you step aside and wait it out. And I'm doing a little bit of both as far as my trading account goes. I'm partially in, partially out, took some trades here, but it's just been tough goings for sure until BTC decides what it wants to do. And so on the good news, I'm liking the pattern that we're seeing. It's starting to form, and somebody called it out on Twitter almost exactly. It was pretty good on a reply to me, but you're seeing this Adam and Eve type of double bottom pattern. And so where the first spike is sharper and the second one is a little bit more of a rounded bottom. And so that's the potential pattern that I'm seeing play out. Now, right now, it's very much an equilibrium pattern, right, where you've got this low, this high, this higher low, see where this goes, right? It's a long ways from confirming a double bottom still, right? We got several layers of resistance to get above. You got to get above here, and then maybe even this 12K and ultimately test that pivot point, which would be the neckline on the double bottom. But percent-wise, that's a big move up from here. So if we can start to see more upside in the near term, I would certainly welcome that. The level that I'm looking for is a close above this 11.4. We've seen a lot of sellers show up. There's been this big wicks as it tries to rally into that. So that's the level I'm really watching. That's going to really start to confirm some more upside, and that'll translate into a nicer green bar here on the daily with this little bit of a doji on the bottom here with these long wicks. Will start to confirm that, hey, these are big support zones, at least for now, into the 10K area, and that would really give us some more rally and some more upside potential here. Also on the daily, the 10 EMA, you guys know I follow that quite a bit. we're still below that, right? So that's the other thing. If we can get above that 11.4, that'll maybe start to bump into that and see if we can get above that 10 EMA. And so there's just a lot of different signs. Now, long term. So just to summarize, right? Near term, I'm feeling better. It's wedging up a little bit. I want to see this, but you can also see here's the hourly, very, very clear resistance overhead around that 11.4. But you can see, right, we're making higher lows here, higher lows. Every time we test the downside, the buyers are coming in and supporting that, right? So that's good. And, the upside volume hasn't been too bad, right? I'd like to see a little bit more on a breakout. So if we can get above that 11.4, certainly we want to see that accompanied with some good buy volume. And so just kind of watching the different signs right now, paying attention to that. If we start to pull back a little bit from here, the level we're going to want to hold above is like that 10.7 or so. Then that would keep this higher low pattern in place and would still allow for a setup to retest that 11.4. But for now, the name of the game is just kind of patience, waiting it out, seeing how this thing plays out. Don't get too aggressive one direction or the other. And especially in a choppy market, right? You don't want to go in here at the top and then get stopped out on a spike down and get back in. Just that choppiness is just going to be way more damaging than just riding it out or stepping aside and getting back in when you see some more upside confirmation. And so that's how I'm playing it. Good news is I'm feeling a little bit more positive here. Now, if we start to break down again, 10.7 is going to be the level I'm watching. If we start to close below that, then got to get a little bit more defensive. So the big picture has been thoughts on we're going to 8K, we're going to 7, we're going to 5. And so a lot of you guys are asking me, is this the low? Are we done? Is the bear, the low of the pullback in? And it's way too early to say. So that's the bad news, right? The good news is, again, hey, let's look on the upside for the near term, and it's looking better and better. But in the daily chart, a couple of things I want to point out, right? There's this downtrend that's still in place. And that's going to be a major wall if we start to really get going here. So let's say we do rally. Let's say we get a double bottom and, just kind of starts stair-stepping its way up and into this resistance point, right? Even if we go up to 14K, are we out of the water? Are we out of the woods here in terms of the danger zone? I don't think so, because you're still at risk of, okay, we hit this resistance, this downtrend resistance, and then we see another leg down, and maybe that's the leg down that really washes everything out and takes us out to 8K or 9K or something, right? Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's certainly still possible, right? We're just not, oops, sorry about that. We're just not out of the woods yet in terms of the downtrend being broken to the upside. Now, if we start to rally and we get above this and we pull back a little bit and then we get a higher low and start to round out a big base on the daily chart, right, where it starts to look more like, one of these type of scenarios where it starts to really bounce around, then that'll be really good. Hey, we're going to go straight up from here and see new highs, by March. I'm a little bit more conservative right now in terms of, I think this needs a little bit more time to digest. But I'm not necessarily in the camp of, hey, we're going to see 5K, right? I just think it needs some more sideways action. And to be honest with you guys, the bigger the base this thing puts in, the longer and more constructive it is. When it finally does break out, that's going to be huge, and that's going to be massive. In long term, I'm still very bullish. And so I'm using these opportunities, these extreme panic selling moments to really start building up some more longer term holds and adding fresh capital to the markets during these extreme lows. And so those are my thoughts. Another thing to look at, and for those of you that follow Fibonacci or any of those ratios, this is interesting, right? So if you do a bounce play just on this very top and you go peak to peak, we kind of below that 3.8 still. We went above it for a while, but if we bounce into the 618 level, look at where that takes us. Almost to that resistance point right there. And so that's going to be real interesting to see if we do clear this double bottom and rally higher, 13.8, 14K, that's going to be a very key resistance point to be watching here. So that's what I'm looking at, right? And so that's why I'm thinking I don't think we're out of the woods yet from a big picture perspective. But could we see a couple of days, even a couple of weeks of rally? Absolutely, right? We could see it going into February. if we can really get the momentum going here. It's not going to go straight up. It'll probably be choppy just like it's been before, but we could see another scenario like this here where we have a couple of days of just really strong upside action. And so that's my summary there on the BTC. I think for now, very near term, very granular look. That's what we got to do. And on the level I'm looking at, 11.4. And on the downside, you want to finish at a higher low, so 10.7, give or take, in that area. Okay, so let me see here. Let me go through some of the other big names that I'm watching, some things to keep an eye on here. Let me pick a few. Ethereum. Let's just cover the big three here real quick. Ethereum versus BTC setting up real interesting here from exchange. So on Coinbase, you can see it here. So let me zoom out. This is the 4-hour on Ethereum, BTC, Coinbase. You can see we're bumping right up to this resistance point around 927 or so. And so it's going to be real interesting to see how this does and how most of the alts do if BTC really starts to get going. But I'm liking Ethereum here. I'm thinking, this will probably benefit from some more bullish market sentiment. And I'm expecting this to break out here and possibly outperform BTC in the near term. Not by a huge margin, but, if I'm going to be holding something, I'm going to probably hold some of this here. Versus USD, it's pretty much looking very similar to BTC, right? We had the deeper pullback on this one and not so deep on the second leg. So it's just kind of showing some good relative strength, holding up quite a bit. And here we are just trying to get some upside momentum here. Like to see some follow through there. So I'm liking Ethereum here. Litecoin, let me go to Litecoin here. Where are you at? So this one, not quite as strong, right? But this could very quickly reverse, right? I've seen these markets where they kind of do one of these little curlies and then just pop to the upside. And so you still got to keep an eye on it. But certainly the chart doesn't look as strong or as bullish as what we just saw on the Ethereum side. Now, if this starts to reverse on the 4-hour and get back above these key moving averages, then that'll change things. But for now, it's lagging a little bit. Now, on the USD side, it's getting really tight here. And so this, when I start seeing setups like this, also versus BTC, it just kind of leads me to, it helps bolster the case on the BTC side that, hey, maybe that is a good double bottom, right? And so that's what I'm looking at here. Litecoin USD is looking strong, but it's just going to be following suit with BTC. A little bit underperformance on the BTC side. So some of you guys are asking about the futures, and that's a good thought, right? And that's still a factor in my opinion. Now, just to be clear, I don't believe the futures markets themselves, the prices on the contracts, the forward month contracts, I don't believe they influence the price directly. It's just not big enough of a market yet. However, there is no doubt that some of the same players on the futures market are also playing on the direct Bitcoin and crypto exchanges. And there was just, I made that case in my last video that, hey, is it coincidence that the market topped and they supported the rally right until CME futures launched, and then it started to pull back and we had this big, sell off, and, that was able to short the heck out of it on the future side. So that's certainly possible. And so I'm thinking, futures start to wrap up. The first contract wraps up on Friday, basically close of business. And we could see some more shaking and some volatility there until that happens, as some of those futures start rolling over into the forward months. And then we'll go from there. So it'd be real interesting to see if maybe on Friday, just the next rally begins and we see another cycle of some upside. So yeah, that's still a factor. I think we got to keep an eye on that. And that's kind of what's keeping me a little bit more cautious in terms of, I'm not going gung-ho yet and in trading and going full in. I'm just going to be a little bit more judicious on some of these entries and just really watching this. I mean, just kind of watching how BTC is setting up. But no doubt there's other charts and other alts that are just really setting up. So let's take a look at some of those. So we covered Ethereum, we covered Litecoin, Cardano. So here's one I was watching. If you're familiar with some of these chart patterns, right, there's the falling wedge that it was putting in, and these tend to break to the upside. And sure enough, we saw some break to the upside here today. Good volume coming in. You got to pay attention when you see volume. I'm a big believer in volume. And on the daily side, right, it's still just now crossing above that 10 EMA. So very nice breakout to the upside on Cardano. Not a huge percent, right? When you look at the move, I mean, it's, you know, it's up 7-8%. I mean, that's nothing to complain about, but it's not huge like we're seeing some of these alts that just take off and then they go up 20-30% real quick. But still, just a good sign. Good to see volume coming in here at the lows. And so you got to pay attention to that. I'd like to see this pause, maybe pull back a little bit more and set up a little bit of a secondary entry. But this one's looking pretty good. Let me go to my, I had a little hit list I'm going to go through here real quick, and then I will open it up for you guys. I'm seeing some questions and comments on here. So another one was ARC. That was one I was watching too. This one's setting up real nice. It's tried several times here recently to break above this key resistance level right around that 58.4, 59 level, and it's just edging out very slowly. But the buy volume on this here at the lows is real positive too. So I'm liking some of this. We're starting to accumulate as it starts to rise up here, and this just kind of edging out now. Now there's been some long wicks to the upside, so a lot of sellers have shown up as it's tried, but ultimately, those sellers will get exhausted if the buyer pressure continues, and then this will really start to move out. So on the daily side, you can see it's broken that longer term downtrend, and it's just been a little bit choppy here, but the uptrend is still there, right? It's making a series of higher lows here, and that's good. So it's looking bullish. ARC's on my short list in terms of my watch items right now. And I'm keeping an eye on this here, looking like we could see some more upside movement on this one. Let me go to my list here. Digibyte. Some of you guys were asking about that one. This one's actually looking pretty good here at the lows. Trying to reverse trend here. Let's see if it can follow through. So this is the very big picture zoomed out, going through basically the start of the year. You can see it had that big rally late last year or early this year. It just really gave up a lot of that. Now, if you go to the daily chart, not a bullish looking chart, no doubt. So let me be clear about that. But in the very short term, in the very near term, you can see it's starting to break the downtrend here. And let me draw that here for you guys. And that's what I look for. I look for these trend breaks, especially when you see the big volume really come in. And then now it's just kind of flagging out a little bit, trying to settle out. So got to keep an eye on Digibytes. It's also putting in a little bit of a double bottom here at these lows. Came back, retested it. Now it's trying to edge up. So would like to see some more upside confirmation, but certainly looking better. Another one on my list, we covered Ethereum. Omisa Go was looking pretty good today. How's that looking here? Let me see. Yeah, it's still looking pretty good. So OMG coming up the right side pretty strongly here. It's a little bit extended in the very short term, so I'd like to see a little bit of a pause pullback, but I mean, that's nothing, right? Even if it pulls back 5-6%, that's really not a big deal. If you look at the daily chart, very strong. I mean, it's just had that big rally during this big shakeout with BTC here over the last couple of weeks. Held its own pretty well compared to some of these other alts. I mean, some of the other alts have really taken a beating. This one has been holding up very well. And so you got to keep an eye on this one. I'm liking the way this one's setting up, looking strong again. And if this market can get going, this could be one that starts making some new highs here. More, near yearly highs, right? The old highs versus BTC are still quite a ways up, but I'm thinking we can take out this most recent high. 10X was another one here. How's that shaping up this morning? I was looking at a couple of ranges here. Let me zoom in a little bit on 10X. It's been in this little bit of a range right now, so nothing yet in my opinion, but I'm liking the way it's trying to consolidate here at the low, see if we can break out above some volume. I think these payment cards, these token cards, are just going to be having a little bit more challenge right now with some of the pushback crypto's getting, some of the regulation talk, some of all that. So I've got to keep an eye on those. But this one, it's looking like it wants to try to retest this resistance point here again. Waves was setting up earlier. Let me see here. It's looking pretty strong. How's it looking right now? That's Waves USD. Let me go to Waves BTC. Here we go. Look at that volume coming in there on Waves. So here most recently today, right, we're seeing some of that. Now there's a lot of sell volume happening here right in and around this resistance point. And so that's the level that it's testing right now. You can see it's rallied here twice again, and then today it was trying to break above it. Ultimately, when test something that many times, they tend to break out to the upside and do ultimately overcome that, especially when you see the higher low patterns really starting to set up. And this also had a big double bottom. You can see that big double bottom here. The first one being on the 5th, second one being around 17th. So that one's setting up pretty good. I'd like to see this one follow through to the upside. Still trying to break this downtrend here recently. So if it does break above that horizontal resistance, that will also correspond with a break of this very near-term downtrend right around there. So when you break two resistance points like that, it tends to be pretty positive. You see this horizontal price point, and you see the downtrend line resistance, and if it starts to get above that, that tends to give it some more upside momentum. So, ladies and gentlemen, hit that like button. And by the way, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Node Investor. Many of you are. Get my notifications when I post something new. So let's see here. Let me keep going. Lumens. Lumens was on my list. I hear some of you guys asking for that. So let's take a look at Lumens. And I was actually really liking this pattern here. Yesterday was setting up real nice. And I was watching this big flag pattern putting in. It was testing the upside resistance line again a couple times, and then today really broke out. What I don't like on the 4-hour is this big volume reversal bar right in the middle of that. So that's kind of a red flag when you see it finally bust through resistance. Kind of has that big volume reversal. Now, if you zoom in on the hourlies, you can see here too, right? That big wick at the top reversed back. That was the biggest volume bar here. And then it was followed through onto the downside with another big volume bar. The two biggest volume bars were selling. And so that's a red flag. It's unfortunate because that was a nice break of the resistance levels here to the downside when it broke out. So just got to keep an eye on it. The chart looks really good. Don't get me wrong. This is a nice break to the upside, but I'm always cautious when I see that much sell volume coming in right away. Oops, sorry about that. So I'm always cautious when I see that much sell volume coming in. So just got to keep an eye on that. I would like to see another retest of this low, to be honest with you, right around that 48 level, and then rally from there. That would really set up a good back test of the selling pressure. So if we can see, maybe a higher low set up here, or even a lower, a low at the same level, and then a rally, I'd feel a lot more comfortable with that one. But certainly looking strong and is one of the stronger names, right? Had that huge rally late last year and just kind of consolidating some of this move. And maybe it's ready for some more upside. So all around looking good. Just got to be cautious with some of that volume we're seeing there. Let me see here. Let me hop over to CoinGeek. And if you haven't noticed, ELF has been on a tear, been moving up strongly. Is it done? It finally broke out above resistance here a little bit, pulling in. Go to the hourlies here. And just kind of had that big volume day, and then again followed through with, or these are 1 hours, had the big volume 1 hour, but then just saw that big selling coming in, made new highs, but starting to pull in a little bit right now. I'm really liking this chart pattern though here on the daily, right, on the big picture, right? When you see the big base that it's really trying to break out of here with the big low, and then it's putting a little lower low, big volume coming in on that side. So even though it's pulling in right now, I think it might be a good secondary entry point that'll ultimately test that upside and then break out again. So got to keep an eye on that one. Steam was on the move today. I don't know why it didn't do any research on this to see if I think it was mentioned somewhere. But man, Steam's looking pretty good. Saw some volume, seeing a little bit of follow through to the upside, so that's good. Kind of just pausing here. Very healthy consolidation. Here's the 1 hour. You can see just a little bit of a pullback, letting that moving average catch up and start stepping its way up. So looking pretty good. So Steam's been one of the winners today. And you can see, I mean, these are decent moves off the lows. I mean, you're already up 20, 30% on some of these. And so even though BTC is a little choppy, this kind of makes up for some of that choppiness there if you're holding. Neo. Let's take a look at Neo. Trying to break this downtrend today here. A lot of good volume coming in. You can see we were in this little bit of a decline here. Sorry about that. Let me get my arrows. Finally breaking that, and that's looking pretty good. And if you zoom out and look at the daily chart, what I like about this one is it's had this big run, finally paused, nice constructive pullback. Volume really started to dry up as it hit this moving average, and here it is, volume coming back in as it starts to pop to the upside. And this little pullback really allowed for the indicators to reset a little bit. And here we are back at 60 on the RSI. And so this could set up another run, right? Could see another leg up on NEO. So I'm watching this one. It's looking pretty good in the very near term on the hourlies, really starting to set up, rounding the base here at the bottom and trying to build some upside momentum here. So got to keep an eye on this one. Now, it could come back and retest the trend line break. Sometimes they do that, right? It'll do one of these where it rallies, maybe pulls back a little bit, and then they go. But right now it's being supported every time it pulls in. Seeing a lot of buying coming in. So NEO's looking pretty good. Lisk was on my list. Try saying that 10 times fast. Lisk was on my list. Here's one that I'm liking from a bigger picture perspective. You can see on the daily chart, Lisk BTC really tightening up here near the top. You can see this little bit of a bull flag pattern here. These are just very strong when I see these. When you see the big rally, then you see the pause, and you see another rally, and then the big pause. You can see it had two big support bars during the shakeouts, and so that's good news. Got to keep an eye on Lisk here. I'm thinking could be testing the upside here, and if it does, then you're looking at some new highs here on Lisk, and so good strong pattern. A lot of buy volume coming in here on the pokes to the upside. And here's the 1 hour, right? We had the one attempt, big volume reversal. So got to wait for this thing to break to the upside, but it's looking pretty good here in the big picture. Let me see here. RCN, that one was looking pretty good earlier on Binance. And again, good volume coming in on this one. Here, see a big volume spike here at the lows. So looking pretty good. Little choppy, smaller volume name. So you see the big wicks both to the up and the downside. But here today in this, kind of moving up the right side here with good buy volume coming in. So liking that one. Let me see. Funfair was on my list earlier. How's that looking? How's this one looking? It was tried a couple days ago. Saw some good volume coming in. Really put in these good these double bottom candles here. I'm thinking that's a good low, but you got to wait for this thing to break to the upside here. Nothing yet on this one. Let me see here. A couple more on my list, guys, and then I will get to yours. This one was strong today. It's probably extended already. No, it's not too bad. It was testing resistance here. Had a good move earlier. Good strong volume coming in. You can see rallied right up to that resistance, pulling in a little bit, but just huge volume coming in, and I like that. And on the daily chart, just trying to break this downtrend, going sideways here. Volume's coming in as it's trying to move back up. And so got to watch this one here. Nice little flag pattern, right? This is the 1 hour chart. You can see it had that big volume pop to the upside. And it's just sitting tight, just really accumulating, letting that moving average catch up. And so good action on this one. It looks like it's going to probably break above. Now, if it does, the next levels I'd be looking at as far as resistance go are here and here. And from here on up, I mean, your first level is 14%. The next one up about 30%. So can't complain about that. Not too bad. Right. So let me go through these comments here. How are we doing? So we did NEO. We haven't done Ripple. Let's take a look at Ripple. Looking at Ripple, let me go to the daily chart because the daily chart still has not quite turned the corner, but I guess we could say that about a lot of these. So that's, it's probably not a fair assessment, but that downtrend still very much in play, still living below these moving averages. But if you zoom in the near term, it's just, I thought it was ready to go again. It was looking pretty good here when it turned the corner and saw some good buy volume coming in and then follow through to the upside, but then just really petered out and just a lot of selling volume started to come in and all these bounces starting to be sold into. And so in the near term, I'm cautious on this. I'm not liking the way this is acting here. Just this big break right here, the bounce into the moving average starting to roll over right now. So I'd be, I'm not in this one and I'd be cautious here. Could see another test of the downside. On the 4 hour chart, the level I'd be watching versus BTC. That's going to be, right here. If it breaks that support level right around, let's just call it 112 or so, 111, 112, then you could see another retest of this low here at the bottom around the 9,500 level. So got to keep an eye on that one. That's the level I'm watching versus BTC. ICX, yep, that was the mainnet launched. We were waiting on. They also have their first annual conference coming up, so we'll see if there's any news, any announcements there. This thing has kind of been all over the place, though. I really like this one. I was liking this handle it was putting in, and it just really started to break down. And then the mainnet came out and just launched. A little bit of a sell the news type of scenario happening right now, but we'll see how deep this pullback goes. Certainly good volume coming in. If it can hold above this moving average on the 1 hour, that would be very positive. Then we can see some more upside. I really like the daily chart. I've been watching this one here just because this daily chart just looks really strong, right? When you see this big base it's putting in, a lot of support coming in. So if it can start to clear above some of this resistance, you can very quickly see new highs on ICX. And I'm betting we will see that. So if the market can really start to firm up, this one has held up very well compared to some of the other names versus BTC. Now, it's been choppy, but the overall trend is still very strong, putting in a new pause here, and looks like it wants to go higher. So got to keep an eye on that one. All right, let's see here. We covered, let's do the big three again here real quick for those that are just joining. And I will go to the bright charts here. So if you missed my my initial thoughts on the BTC here, what I'm looking at is some good action coming in. Right? I'm seeing this big spike low and then this second rounded bottom, potentially setting up a nice double bottom on the 4-hour charts. You can also see that translates to a nice double bottom on the daily chart. We still need some upside confirmation. A close above that 11.4 is going to be my initial level, but you know, we ultimately want to see it get above that moving average on the daily charts. And the big first resistance level to watch is going to be getting back above that 12.8, 12.7 level. You know, that 13K range right around there. That's going to be a big wall in my opinion. But if we can rally that high and then pull back and go higher, then the big test is going to be this downtrend resistance, which will be right around 14K if it can rally into that. And that's a pretty decent move from here on up. So in the near term, just watching this action play out, I'm feeling better, a little bit more confident in these lows here as it continues to test to the downside and find some buying support. But we got to see some upside confirmation. Now, the 1-hour chart, you can see there's a very clear resistance level here being formed around that 11.4K level. And you can see these higher lows are still in place. And this chart's getting real tight. Now, it's been real choppy here the last couple of days. So it's kind of one of those, you ride it out or you wait it out. But this one's going to really reveal itself here in the next couple hours. If it pulls back again, and that certainly could happen and still be valid, I'd be looking for a higher low, 10.7 or so is kind of the most I'd want to see to the downside. And then maybe we test back up to the upside. Otherwise, let's look for a break above this resistance here in the next day or so. Ethereum of the big three is probably the best setup. I'm really liking this right now. It's really testing this upside resistance. And you can see how tight this pattern is getting versus BTC. Some good volumes coming in. And so I'm liking this. Picked up some more Ethereum here today versus USD. You know, it's kind of has a similar pattern as Bitcoin here. And that's just because of the influence there. And Litecoin of the big three, probably the weakest. But on the USD side, sitting very tight here in and around that 170, 190 range. So this is really interesting to see how tight this is getting, more like 182. So got to watch this. Now versus BTC, I want to see this reverse kind of rolling over here a little bit. Maybe it puts in a good double bottom with the second low being lower, but got to see some more upside on this one. Ethereum Classic, we didn't cover that. Let's take a look at Ethereum Classic versus BTC. Looking pretty good here, almost a little bit of a falling wedge on this one here. Or actually, you could argue for a bit of a descending triangle on this one here. So this one's going to break one way or the other pretty soon. This is a descending triangle pattern, so they tend to break to the downside. So I'd be cautious here. You will know here in the next few 4-hour bars. And so got to watch out for this one, see what it does here to the downside. You know, this pretty clear support level being formed versus BTC right around, you know, 259, 258. If that breaks, then you can see some downside testing and most likely will retest this most recent low. The best scenario would be a break to the upside and then starting to close above, you know, some of these resistance points here. But Interesting pattern there, getting real tight. All right, let's get back to your guys' list here. So we did Ripple, we did Neo. We didn't do Walton yet, so that's been certainly one of the leaders here. Stronger name in recent days, looking very nice. Still going, man. Walton still going. Gotta love it. And so here's the daily chart of Walton, looking pretty strong. I clearly got out too early on this. I was on this trade here for a little bit and was looking pretty good. Got shook out when BTC did its thing, and that's okay to move out of the way. But whoops, what I was looking to see here is this resistance level got taken out, and after it broke out to new highs, still going here. So looking pretty good, up another 37% since that, and that's just here in the last 2 days. So has been one of the leaders, one of the stronger names, and looking good. How high can it go once they start making new highs and keep going? You know, they just tend to surprise to the upside. So it's really hard to say how high is too high. The RSI here, you can see that was almost a perfect cup and handle. You can see that pull back, a little bit of a handle, and then just really broke out. RSI is, you know, it's at 88. It's getting up there, so just keep an eye on that. But strong. I mean, look at how many green days in a row this thing has had. Just crazy strong action on Walton. All right, crypto hedge in the house. Node investor here. All right, let's see what else we got going. Zcash. Yeah, we'll look at VeChain next here. So Zcash, BTC, kind of rolling over a little bit here. So just got to keep an eye on this one. Go to Polo. Let me look at the Zcash USD side. You know, just not particularly strong and really testing some key support levels here on the USD side around that 400, mid 400 range. So this is the level you're going to want to see this thing bounce if it's going to bounce here. But not looking particularly strong. I'm not liking this choppy double top action with, you know, the lower highs still living below this moving average. On the near term, yeah, not quite oversold yet. So trying to put in a double bottom here on these 4 hours. So maybe we get a little bit of a bounce here at this key support level. VeChain. Taking a look at this one. This also has been a leader as of late, but finally rolling over. And someone was asking me, hey, they sold, took profits. What do I think? And my thoughts were I would be waiting at best and need some consolidation. It's putting in a pretty good double top right now and basically breaking the neckline of that here. And so I'd be cautious here on this one. It's had a good run. You got to remember, VeChain was up how many 1,000% from December's low? You know, in the course of a month, 3,500%. And so it's certainly well overdue for a pause at least. And so that would be best case, in my opinion, is you see this thing pause, put a new base, consolidate here at the highs, and set up a new run. But I'm not sure I would personally be buying this dip just yet. I'd like to see a little bit more consolidation on VeChain. I still like the name. I still like go forward through the year. I think this will be a good one. Just right here, right now, probably a little extended and needs more time, in my opinion. EOS was also one of the leaders and just continues to stair step its way up. I mean, just look at how strong this is. It gives you these nice bases, rallies on big volume, a little bit of a base, rally, pausing here a little bit, but no huge sell action on EOS yet, and actually putting in a nice little bit of a bull flag here. And so you could see a break to the upside again, give you another leg up. What I'd be looking for is a break above this, maybe a close around that to 121, 122 level with volume, and you'll see some of that. And on the downside, just got to wait to see this trend breaks, because if it continues lower, then this will be a double top. But right now, it's just a very strong pattern, more of a cup with a handle type of pattern. So looking pretty good. EOS looks like, you know, if I had to guess, I'd say we're going to see more upside on this one. But this market, anything is just a guess. So there's EOS. Let me see here. Wabi. And then we'll do Bcash. Looking at Wabi. Again, had a good run, putting in a little bit of a double top here. I want to see some support come in here at these lows. But right now, the level I'm looking at for Wabi here, sorry about the scrolling all over the place. let me go to the 1 hour right there. And so look at this trend, right? It's got this uptrend that it's trying to maintain. And so right now that's being tested. And so got to keep an eye on this one here. This would be a good place for it to pause and find some support. Otherwise, then the big test is going to be this support level right around here. And from here down, that's another, 17 to 20% to the downside. But we're seeing some big buy volume coming in on this most recent 1 hour bar here. You can see some of that might be hard to see on my screen here. This is a smaller cap name, lower volume, so it's a little choppier on the chart, but you can see some support right at that trend line. And so if we can start to base out here and break this downtrend, this might be a pretty good longer term entry if you like Wabi here. And I like Wabi longer term. I think it's a great project. They solve a real world solution. And I think we'll see some more upside in 2018. Near term, it's got to hold this level here. All right. CND moving very strong. Big volume coming in here, but kind of reversing right now in the most recent time frame. Looks like a normal pullback, though, when you look at the granular look, right? Just kind of drifting lower, not crazy volume. And here's what I'm looking at on the 4 hour, right? It's pulling near to this top of this base here, and they tend to do that. They tend to retest, and then they go from there. So that's the level I'd be wanting this one to hold here. Substratum. Yeah, let's take a look at that one. Saw an interesting article on Substratum's tech. Some of the big red flags that they have there, but chart-wise, looking at the chart, man, it's had a pretty good pullback. How far off is this from the top? 56%, and it was certainly one of the big runners here late last year. Like a lot of these alts really pulling in. I would be waiting to see if this one can round out here at the lows or break this downtrend and really reverse with some good volume to the upside. But right now, that the downtrend is that old adage, and it's a cliche, but it holds true, man. The trend is your friend, and when you're trying to fight the trend without any other indicators, it makes it for some tough trading. Now, zooming in the 1 hour, right? You can see there's a lot of buy volume coming in here at these lows. So trying to find a good support there. And this is a good case for a double bottom here with the second low undercutting and a lot of volume coming in. So if we can get back above, this most recent breakdown point, that'll really start to shift the momentum on this one. That's what I'd be looking for on sub. Let's take a look at Stratus. Zoom out to the 4 hour on Stratus here. Again, the downtrend here, but it feels like it's done, in my opinion. Like going to the downside, it's starting to find some support. The downside momentum is starting to wane here a little bit, so still hasn't confirmed, but it's getting real close here. Now, if you zoom in on the 1 hour, you can see this kind of sideways choppy action, really trying to assert itself here. So I'd be looking for an upside confirmation here, a break above this this downtrend line. And ultimately, right, your first big resistance point is going to be right here. And that's not really that far. How far is that from a percent basis? Yeah, that's like 3-4%. So that's nothing, right? And that's going to be the key test, right? If we can get above this general zone here on the price side, that'll confirm downside trend break as well as this horizontal price point. So I like it here. I think it's good. I think a good support level is going to be about 5 or 6% down here, right around that 106, 105 level. That's probably the most I'd give it if I was jumping on this one here, because if it breaks, then you just kind of want to get out of the way here. Or you wait for upside confirmation. But looking pretty good. I'm feeling like this one's maybe done pausing here for now in the near term. All right, let's see what else. Tron. Who's holding Tron? All right, come on. Tron, man, I'm thinking this one's going to pop here. It's just some big volume coming in here at those lows. A lot of sellers, though. I think there's a lot of people still holding Tron. And, you're just going to, depending on where they bought, they're going to be wanting to cash out at some break-even points or some, near break-even points. But the good news on this one is it's finally starting to turn this downtrend and trying to go sideways. And I'm also seeing some big buy volume coming in here at these lows. And so that's pretty interesting to watch. See this one. This one traditionally has been a pretty big volume name. Let me pull this up here so you can see some of those candles. And you can see those big green candles. Now, this is a big wick at the top, so that's certainly some sellers showing up there. But, you know, there's some good action starting to happen here. It's trying to turn the corner here. It's trying to break this big downtrend it's been in. So this could be a new big base on Tron. So I'd be watching this one. Looking like it's maybe done. Maybe it's done going down. Let's see here. Bcash. Let's look at the BCH. Go to Bitfinex for this one. And let me zoom out here. This is BCH USD. You know, after that big break, it's really formed a defined resistance support level here. And so you can see that line in and around that zone. Let me do this here to help you guys. So you can see that little area there is going to be the big test to the upside, right? Right now, it's trying to form a low here. Now versus BTC, you know, it's still kind of wedging down, but it's, you know, it's holding up right here so far. That's going to be the level you want to watch on this one. Longer term, I still think this one will be higher than 15% of BTC value. How high is anyone's guess? You know, there's going to be a big wall here around 20 to 23%, but somewhere in between there, and I'm thinking 23 to 25% is kind of the level I'm looking for on this one. And so that's going to be interesting to see if we can turn the corner here on this resistance. You know, I was hoping to see some of this upside trend hold. It didn't. So right now, the best bet is looking at this horizontal line versus BTC. Now, if BTC really starts to rally here, you could see another leg down on this one. So got to keep an eye on this one here. But we're close to that support level on the Bcash. But versus USD, it's just going to have some big walls, some hurdles to overcome here to really get back above that. Steam. We did Steam earlier. Steam was looking pretty good. Very strong. I'm thinking we see the secondary entry points might be moving up already. Yep, just kind of stepping its way up. These little bull flags, these little dips are good secondary entries in my opinion. It looks like it's got more upside. About to clear some major resistance here. Go back to the daily chart. You can see that big wall right around here. That's where it sold off earlier. But all around, looking really strong. We covered ICX. Again, that one's kind of all over. We did waves. I'll go back through some of these. Let me get through some of the list first. We did ELF and 10x. So real quick, I'll spit out the names here, and we'll come back and look at the charts again. But some of the names that I think are looking strong here, holding up. We talked Cardano. We talked ARC. Digibyte's one to look at here. Ethereum's probably my top of the big three. Omise Go's looking good. 10x is in range right now, setting up. RCN's looking good. Waves, Lumens, ELF, Lisk, nice bull flag there. Neo looking really good on this pullback, and Steam. And so those are some of the names I mentioned earlier. Let's see what else we got here. Real quick, take a hiatus. Stripe dumps Bitcoin. I use Stripe on my website. I really like Stripe as a payment processor. I use Stripe as well as PayPal. But, you know, it's kind of interesting to see here the scaling debate and, you know, Bitcoin, the Lightning Network kind of starting to take place. And here these companies are starting to dump. And so it'll be interesting to see if they just move away from crypto altogether or if they replace it with something else. And maybe they start using Litecoin or some other name as their cryptocurrency of choice. And so that'll be interesting to see. And I think 2018, we're going to see some more adoption on, you know, point of sale and payment processors accepting crypto beyond Bitcoin. Right now, it's been mostly just BTC, but I think you'll see some more adoption with some of the other ones. So pretty interesting little article here. I was just kind of funny to see that this news is coming out as Lightning Network and some of that stuff is coming online, and people are like, hey, it's now just an asset to hold value. It's no longer a payment. So pretty interesting article. I'd read that. And then if you're not familiar, noteinvestor.com. You can go check it out. Go to training. I talk technical analysis. I've got a little video course that I do here with some charts, key patterns, and setups to look for, some intro into some of the key indicators, moving averages, Fibonacci, some of that, and money management. It's the most important part of trading, in my opinion, managing the trade. And I also got a one-on-one course. If you're just getting started and you need to learn how to do wallets and shapeshift and exchanges and all that fun stuff, I'll be doing that. And then finally, I am working on another more in-depth, more trader-focused video course slash seminars that I'm going to be doing, and going into more detail as to entering the trade and managing it and stop loss and all that. But you got to know some basic technical analysis to really benefit from that. So that's coming out soon. Keep an eye out for that. I will certainly start announcing that more as it gets closer. All right. IOTA, man, IOTA was really setting up pretty good and just really breaking down here in recent days. So what I was looking at IOTA here, and I think it's still worth watching, but it was putting in this big pattern here. And I know there was news of the hack and all that fun stuff, but I was really watching this symmetrical type pattern really play out. It's starting to edge out to the downside, unfortunately. So we might see some more downside testing, and maybe we retest this low here, which is right around 180 or so on IOTA. But was liking this setup. Unfortunately, it's breaking down here in recent days. And so I'm just kind of not going to do anything with this one here, stepping aside, but I got to keep an eye on this one. It's seen some volume coming in, some support volume, but right now, just kind of a lower high pattern. So not liking the way that's really shaping up here in the last couple of days. Let's see what else here. Lend. Yeah, Lend has been a good one. Looking at Ethland here, going out to the daily chart, right? We had that big run up late last year, early this year, pull in a little bit, finding a good little bit of a base here in recent days and putting in a nice series of higher low patterns with some good volume coming in. If you zoom in at the 1 hour chart on this one, you can see this, it's certainly volatile. And if you're trading, it's probably good for a trade. This is a smaller cap name, so I think it's got some good upside potential. If you're not familiar with Lend, it's similar to Salt, lending platform, decentralized, all that. This is Ethereum based. But I'm liking the fact that it's making these higher lows. I don't like the fact that there's a lot of selling volume coming in here at this most recent point. So that's going to be a key resistance level. And we'll have to see if we can get back above that. How far is that from here? It's a good 15 to 20%, depending on where you measure that. Maybe we have a little bit of a bounce. Ladies and gentlemen, hit that like button. Let me take a sip of my water here. And it's just water, nothing fancy. No hard drinks right now. All right. Quantum. Let's take a look at this guy here. This one's been sitting real tight for a while. I was watching this setup. It's still looking pretty good. What I do like about this is the big picture on the daily, right? Seeing this volume really starting to dry up here. And so that's a good sign because it kind of shows some sellers exhausting here as this pattern consolidates. And so you see the big volume pops to the upside and just kind of drifts lower. And so I'm liking that. Still on my watch list. I'd like to see this thing break out, though. I mean, it's tried a few times here. That's going to be a big wall to get above now. Just the fact that it's tried to get above this level here twice. How far is that from our current points? That's about 15% above current price level. So it's kind of right in the middle of the ground here. Downside support about 18 to 20% to the downside. And so just middle ground. Not sure, what to do on this one yet. I'd like to see some volume one way or the other, but right now it's just kind of sitting tight. I think the big picture, though, still looks good. Got to keep an eye on this one, see if it ultimately, if we can take out those two levels, probably see some new highs on Qtum here. So let's see here. UBIC. Look at the UBIC. What's UBIC's market cap these days here? a look. 192 million, still, relatively speaking, in the crypto world, still on the low end. So this one has been setting up pretty good here the last couple of weeks. I've really liked this chart. I think somebody asked me about this in the last live stream I did last week, but I had this big run up and then it's just sitting real tight here. And so that's really nice when you see that kind of a consolidation, especially when you consider, what the market's done in the last week or so. This is good. The fact that it's held up, upside resistance, breakout point is pretty clear, right? If it starts to close above that 45, 46K level, that's the level I'd be watching here. So that's the daily chart. Let's zoom in on the 4-hour. Let me see here. That's big volume, no big deal. It just set tight. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. Liking the way this one's shaping up. You can almost argue that this is a little bit of a inverted head and shoulder here in the near term, right? So not bad. It's getting close. I think you'll see it here in the next day or so. See if we can break out above that resistance level. All right, let me see here. What was asking me about this one? So had a good run. Right now, it's just normal pullback, testing the 10 EMA on the daily or on the 4-hour, which is ideal, holding there. So that's what you want to see. On the daily chart, it looks really good, right? Just now clearing resistance. Nowhere near, not nowhere near, but it's not crazy overbought. And so just in the last 2 days, it's been breaking out. I think it's got more room to upside. Technically speaking, it certainly looks strong. Wouldn't complain about this one here at all. If you like this one, it gives you these little bit of a pullbacks. I would just wait on this 10 EMA. That's really the point to look at when these dips right to here. But as far as this little bit of a breakout point and then bounce from there. Don't know if it'll get that far down. How far down percent wise? Well, it's about 12%. I'd be looking for it more right in this level. So 42, 425 or so. Somewhere in there, if it dips back to that point, might make for a nice secondary entry. But the daily chart looks good. Looks strong here. I like all you guys' emojis there. All right. Making me hungry. Let's do power. Then I'll cycle through some of the stronger names that I'm seeing here, some of the big names that I think are setting up as this market tries to firm up. So going to the 1-hour on this one here, it's trying to find this good low, good volume coming in on this one. You can see some nice big green bars starting to show up. Now these are crazy because they got the big wicks, but when they move that far that fast, there's certainly some profit taking place there. But here on the daily, it's looking pretty nice. It had that nice run up, pausing right now. Volume is really drying up here at the highs, getting quiet. So looking pretty good. I'd keep an eye on this one. Near term resistance probably going to be right around that. What does that equate to? 10.5 or so, 105 is the level I'm looking at there. Let's see here. AMB's on Binance. Not sure if we got enough. Yeah, there we go. Got some room here. Sorry, I was reading another message here on my other screen. Yeah, this is clearly a lower volume name. You can see these big spikes to the upside. On the daily chart, though, it's not bad. It's looking okay. Just these big wicks to the upside, there's just a lot of selling pressure right here. And you can just see tons of sellers just show up. Big volume to the upside. What's the market cap on this thing? 122, only trades $7 million a day. So got to see some more volume. Otherwise, these smaller volume daily names are they just move. They're easier to move around. Tough to trade because if you're setting stops and all that, you're just going to get shooken out. If you like it longer term, that's something different there. All right, let me see here. Let me go through. Yeah, let's do Zcoin. I'll come back to my list here and cycle through on some of these names. So this is one I like here. I've been watching this one, trying to see if it can settle out here at the lows. Let me go back to the daily chart here. Sorry about. But look at this daily chart, though. I mean, just had this big run up, and I'm really liking this little bit of a bull flag it's putting in. You know, almost getting real tight here at the lows. Now, you could argue this is a little bit of a descending triangle, but you know, it just has more of a bull flag feel than it does a descending triangle. The first drop's not deep enough. And so I'm liking this little bit of a consolidation, this little bit of pullback it's putting on this daily chart. And it's been going since end of December now. So I think it's given it enough time. The RSI has really cooled off, bottoming out here in the high 40s or so. Here, what's the you can see the 50. I just added the 50 daily moving average on my charts, really starting to catch up here. And so this is a level to be watching. It could start breaking out and moving to the upside. I'd be watching this one right here. It's looking pretty good. Let's see here. Let me go to some of my other names that I mentioned as we started. So I did the big three. A couple of the ones I want to talk about is, if you missed it, here's my short list. Some of the names that are strong. Cardano is breaking this downtrend, a little bit of a falling wedge. It's finally breaking out of. You can see here in the near term, broke out here today, pausing a little bit here, big volume. I like that. I want to see this pause and consolidation. You can see on the 1 hour charts, kind of rolling over right now. But on the 4 hour, I'd be looking for it probably in this this vicinity there, above 54 or so. If we can hold that level on this pullback, especially if volume's not too crazy on the downside, that'll be good. Another one, Lumens did the same thing, broke out of a nice little bit of a downtrend here. Don't like the selling volume at the top, unfortunately, though. That's what I was really cautious about here. I had this little bit of a resistance point, broke out, good volume came in, but then just a big reversal bar right in the middle, right at the top. So that's keeping me cautious. Let's see if it pulls back to this breakout point, and then maybe we go from there. Another one was ARC. Testing upside resistance here on ARC. Pretty clear pattern as far as where it needs to get above. You can see, let me get that line here for you. Basically testing to the upside right now on this, but I'm liking the way this is setting up with these higher lows, getting real tight here. Good buy volume coming in here at the right side. We saw waves. Waves was setting up. Good volume on waves, really looking nice, and just kind of edging out of resistance today. And you know, technically it's broke out already. So if you look at the key resistance point was right here, and broke out with some good volume, and just pausing right above that point right now. And I like waves. So I think it's really good right here. I mean, downside, your support level is either that breakout point just below, or the low of this consolidation, which, you know, it's only 5-6% to the downside, not a big deal in the big scheme of things. This one is more volatile, so you just got to keep that in mind, right? This one, I mean, look at these bars normally are 5 to 6% wide anyway, but it's looking strong here. We talked Omise Go. That's looking pretty good, up, moving up the right side here, just continuing to build some momentum. Seeing some selling here at the top, so we'll see. Maybe it's due for a pause finally. Been having a nice little run there. Let me see here. Digibyte. It's trying. It's trying. It's trying to get above this moving average on the daily chart here on the 4 hour. It's just trying to put in a good low here. Key support level, very clear to watch, right around that 470, 460 mark. And right now it's breaking this downtrend, trying to go sideways here. Maybe we get another test of that and then up. Good double bottom pattern on this one so far in the very short term. And let me see. I think that was it. Those are some of the stronger names. We talked Neo. Neo's looking pretty good on the daily, bouncing off that moving average. This big uptrend in place. Nice constructive pullback. Volume really drying up. And here he goes. Neo moving to the upside, looking strong. And these dips are looking like they're being bought up and looking nice. So I'm liking Neo here, giving you a little bit of a pause right now. But looks like it wants to do some more upside. Neo USD looking good. all around looking pretty good. It's pausing right at this little bit of a resistance point on the USD side in that mid 130s range, but I like this one. So we did Steam, we did Lisk. If you missed it, Lisk is setting up on the daily. One to keep an eye on. Big flag pattern putting in here on this daily chart. Look for a breakout there. Elf was looking like it was pulling in a little bit here. I like this one here. Let me clear some of these lines. The daily chart just looks like it's a nice setup on Elf here. Good volume coming in. It's had a good run already, so it's pausing right now. But, kind of the intermediate, longer term picture, just a really strong daily chart setting up, almost a little bit of a cup and handle type pattern that is trying to break out of here. Now, if you zoom in, you can see it's had a pretty good run. It's had these big breakouts, but a lot of volumes coming in here on the sell side. So we'll see how deep this little pullback goes. We did Ubic. Ubic's good. I just did that one here just before my list did Populous Verge. So Verge, Verge looked like it was ready. I was thinking this thing was ready here a couple yesterday, the day before, was setting up this almost a little bit of a falling wedge, but it's certainly looking more like a descending triangle now. So I'd be watching this one. If it starts to break this line here, very clear support level on Verge. That's going to be a pretty big break. If we get below here on a closing basis, then you could see it test, maybe not all the way down to the downside, but somewhere in between here. So I'd be watching this here. Aeon. How do you pronounce that? Aeon. Aeon. So let me see here. We're still rolling over a little bit. I like this project. I think it's a good one to keep an eye on for 2018. But let me see here. Just not quite ready yet. What's the market cap on this guy? This one's come down a little bit. 382, but still trades some pretty decent volume, about $10 million a day. Just consolidating some of that move it had a couple of weeks back. And I still like this one. I think it's one to keep an eye on, watching this downtrend. Thing with this one, it's basically right at the breakout points from this initial base that it put in when it first debuted. So I had this nice little base, cup and handle type pattern base, and then has hit this support line a couple of times. You see it there, see it here, getting real tight. So we'll want to keep an eye on this one. You don't want to see that one break, because if it's held that support so many times and then it finally breaks to the downside, usually not good. They tend to go, substantially lower at that point, and maybe we test these support levels down here at the lows. But it's kind of at a key point there. Let me go through a couple of more of these. I'll cherry pick some of the ones, even though I've already done a lot of these names. So we did NEO, we did ICX, we did EOS. I did at the very beginning. I'll cover EOS again. And we'll do the big three again. All right. So let's see, Saya. Man, this one had such a big run too, right at the start of the year, and just really giving up a lot of that move. And so it's just there stepping its way down. Unfortunately, looking like it wants to go lower here, but you can argue for, let me see, wrong line, argue for a little bit of a falling wedge here that's starting to maybe finish dropping, right? I mean, you can see here that it's been in this pretty good little down channel, and here it is going sideways a little bit. So see if it's done pausing here to the downside and getting ready to give some upside confirmation. But that's what I'd be looking for. I'd be looking for at least of a break on that downtrend slope. But right now it's just going sideways. That's a big support level that it's finally found. So you want to hold in and around this level here. Just very volatile. I mean, these moves are big. I mean, how big was that move? That was 200%, and then gives up about 50%, then goes up about 60%, and then down 30%. Hey, makes for some good trading. Oh yeah. Let's see here. I'm gonna do some more research on this one and probably post this one here on my site as a featured coin in the next week or so. I think the next one's gonna be Wabi, so look out for that. But as far as the chart goes on this guy, and it had a big run. I know there's a lot of interesting news and commentary on this one, but I'd be watching. See, let me see if this downtrend's broken. It's barely. That uptrend is kind of hanging in there, looking all right. But I'd be watching that to see if it can hold this support level right now. If I had to guess, I think you see a little bit more downside on this one, uh, unless it reverses here quickly. Only because it's really starting to break these support levels, and these 3 daily bars. There's really not a lot of support there. So gotta watch this one here. Oh, maybe that one. I did IOTA, but let's take a look again because I was liking this and it just kind of really is starting to break here. I was really keeping an eye on this one to see if it was forming a little bit of a bull pennant right after this big move it had up, and this was symmetrical, could go either way. Was trying to hold. You can even argue that maybe that's the low here and it's still intact, but it's just feeling like it's rolling over right now. Volume is not that bad, but it's just not really strong now. The alternative is, hey, this is the lower trend line and it's still in place. Then we're going to want to see it bounce right now and really start to get back above that moving average. So we got to see this one bounce to the upside. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. Let me cycle through the market cap list, see if there's anything standing out here. Ethereum, I already mentioned, looking strong of the big 3. I'm liking it. We did Ripple, Bcash, Cardano, Stellar, Litecoin, Neo. We have none NEM. Let's take a look at NEM. You guys still like NEM, right? All right, let's take a look at NEM. So you can see I had this old line on the chart here on NEM. That's the level I'm watching still. Got to keep an eye on this, see if it can bounce above this. So far, it's held support there. That's the key level to be watching on NEM. Now, on the 4-hour chart, not particularly strong, not quite there yet. Still needs a little bit more time. I'd like to see some more upside. That's it. Thumbs down for me. Come on, man. All right, let's see here. Hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. All right. What else? We did EOS. Nobody's asked for Dash. Nobody cares about Dash anymore. Well, let's see. Dash USD. This one looks just real similar to BTC right now. I had that big shakeout, rallied, trying to put in a little bit of a double bottom here, and we'll see where it goes on this one versus BTC. Dash just had that big run last year, and I think it's just still consolidating a lot of that move. I mean, it's just real choppy versus BTC. It's flagging out a little bit right now. I'd be watching this USD side, but right now they're just kind of looking for a double bottom here. Needs to hold. Monero sitting at number 13 on the coin market cap. Take a look at Monero USD. Still consolidating a big part of that move. We had that very nice steady run. And, I kind of mentioned this before, but this was a good lesson, right? We had that channel break to the upside. And when you see a channel that's just so steady for weeks and it finally pops to the upside at the very top of a move with huge volume, that just tends to signify that that's the end of the move for now, and it needs to pause at best. Doesn't necessarily mean it just starts crashing, but that's what happened on this one, and it's been a pretty good consolidation since. I still like Monero long term. I think this is a good one, but I think needs more time right now. Holding some support level, looking all right, I guess. Just consolidating right now, not too bad. Versus BTC though, I mean, still holding up its own pretty good. Just kind of sitting tight. Hasn't really had quite as steep of a pullback as some of these other names. Tron, VeChain, ICX, we did those. Quantum, Ethereum, Lisk, we did that. I did PPT. Some of you guys are asking for it. We'll do it again. we'll check it out. I think it's good. I like it. I think you might need a little bit of a pullback or a pause on the daily chart. Just really strong, no doubt. Breaking out resistance here after that nice consolidation and looking good right now. Just testing support on the downside, seeing if where it holds. Only thing I don't like is this little bit of a reversal, but I think that's just very near term, just more temporary. You zoom in on the 1 hour, right? Not quite as bad. Looking okay, just a little bit of a pause here. But the daily chart looks good. No complaints on this one. Hey, you guys want to do Tether? Let's look at Tether. Kidding. Verge. Binance coin. Let me look at that one. BNB. Let's see. BNB USD. Yeah, it's gotten pretty choppy here at the tops. It was looking real nice. It was start stepping its way up, and then just here in recent weeks, just been real choppy. Big volume break to the downside. Hasn't really been able to recover from that one move here, and that was, I believe, that corresponded with the coin burn and tweet saying 40 million was gone or some funny way of wording it, but just kind of bounce into this moving average right now. Hasn't really been able to recover, so got to keep an eye on that one for now. Ooh, BitConnect. No, I'm not going to buy BitConnect. All right, so BitShares was up big today. Status. Take a look at that one here. So I had that big run up. Let's see if it can gain some more upside momentum. Right now, just drifting lower from that big spike it had earlier. But this is interesting. A little bit of a descending triangle type of pattern here. So I'd be cautious on this here. Key support level that it's testing right now, it's got to hold this. If it breaks this, not going to be good because this run up was pretty steep, especially this big bar right at the top. You know, the last move up after the little run up. That's going to be major support. So if it breaks below this, could see some more downside. So must hold right here. So let me see. We did Walton. We're doing Waves. We didn't do 0x yet. Another name I really like going into 2018. I think it's a good project. I think we need some more of this type of thing. Decentralized, all that. Had this good steady climb. Right now it's just, you know, once it broke out, got a little too far too fast, but sitting tight here, putting in a new consolidation, new base. Love to see that. You can even argue that this is almost a good case for an ascending triangle in the making here, right? If it continues to hold up and build these higher lows, that's what I'd be looking for here. And then, you know, break to the upside and give you some new highs there on the near term. Looking at that 4 hour, some good support coming in. I think that case is still good, that ascending triangle type of base there. Another one that I like is District here. Let me see how's that looking. So District, again, had a huge run late last year. Saw the market cap basically go up by 10x. And you can see this support line that it's been putting in. Came right back to that, bounce, pulling in. Maybe that's the low for District. I like this one long term. I think it's a good project. Want to keep an eye on. But, you know, still no doubt lower highs in the making, but we're getting pretty close here. See if this support level holds. Pivx was added to Binance. Did you guys see that? It was pretty good. Had a big run, of course, giving up a lot of that, sell the news type of action. But we had that big surprise pop to the upside. Now, what I like about Pivx, though, is even before the news, the announcement, it was setting up pretty nicely. And kind of, as you can see, this support level, almost a big, maybe inverted head and shoulder type pattern. But nevertheless, higher lows really starting to set up here. Was looking good. I was watching this, see if it can start creeping to the upside. This near-term resistance level was your signal, and this one bar just did it all. That was just on the news of it being added to the exchange. You can see here on the hourlies, came up above the first one, second one, just really pulling in. But now it's pulled right back to that breakout point. So this is the zone you're going to want to see Pivx hold in and around here. Even if it dips a little bit lower, not going to want it to get much lower than that. And then see if we can flatten out here and start moving higher. All right, let's see what else here. The list here, we did ARC, Digibytes, Dragon. Let's see, Dragon's come down quite a bit. Market cap 560, $2.37. Looking at this one, mentioned this one a couple of days ago, kind of a key resistance or support level that it's right at right now. Still hasn't broken this downtrend, but it's retesting these lows that it did here a couple of days ago, a week ago or so. So that's the level I'm watching versus BTC. USD side, pretty much the same thing. That that low $2 range is a level it wants to hold, and it looks like it's finally starting to flatten out here. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's done pulling in, and we'll start to build a new base here in this low to mid $2 range. Let's see here. So why did I not see this one on here? So let's do this one. See, a lot of you guys are asking about this. Has been on a tear lately, and just kind of pulling in. Interesting project here. Let me see. Versus BTC. Isn't this being added to an exchange here pretty soon? I think that's the rumor. We'll see how big of a pop it gets from that. The downtrend's still not broken though. It's just still very much in place, and we're just really actually breaking down below support level right now. So I'd be watching that. This level just really needs to hold right now. I mean, it needs to really start bouncing back pretty soon. USD putting in a good double bottom here. Let's see what else we got here. Scrolling through the list here to see if anything, if I remember one I was going to look at with you guys. We did Elf. We did some of these others. We did 10x sub. Link. Nobody asked about Link. That's a little bit volatile all over the place. So let me see here. Yeah, I mean, so it's kind of this huge cup, little bit of handle, but every time it tries to rally, just continues to get smacked down. Had that big run late last year. Interesting project too, just kind of being the API of the blockchains, and if they can pull that off, I think it'll be very useful to have something like Link to kind of integrate some of this technology with other platforms that currently exist. But right now, just seeing some good selling pressure showing up every time it tries to rally. A lot of volume coming in on Link, but long term, I think it's a good project. Neblio. Check out Neblio. Another one I like longer term. Of course, had that big run up, needed to consolidate. Kind of went too far too fast, but pulling in pretty good. Bouncing here a little bit. Let's see if we can get a good low putting in. A little bit of it was almost looking like a falling wedge, and then it rallied, but didn't stick. We saw that big move to the upside. Good volume came in, but then just really sold off. So on the downside, I mean, maybe we end up putting in a double low. I don't know if we're going to get as low as this point again. From here down, that's maybe a little bit more. So want to keep an eye on. If you like this one long term, these are the type of dips that you want to look for. And I think with most of these names, right, longer term, when you see these big pull-offs from the high, I mean, these are at one point we're down 60, 70% from the highs. And, those are the ones it's always scary to buy those dips, but projects that you really like and want to put away, I mean, you're buying it off the highs. So ideally, you don't want to buy it at the highs. Let me go through this list here. We did Fun Fair. I'll take a look at that one again. Just checking out your guys' names here. C Classic, TNC. All right. Let's take a look at some of these. On high BTC, let me see if I can the charts look like here. This is just a small volume name right now. So Squared. It's hard to do anything with those guys. What's the market cap on that? Tiny. Yeah, it's come off quite a bit from the highs. So if you really like it, then longer term might be a good entry. Mod, yeah, let's take a look at Mod. Another one that I like here for more of a longer term view. I think Mod's a good, kind of interesting platform, along with some of these others like Wabi, IoT type of base, Walton, that sort of thing. So looking at Mod, kind of see this uptrend still in place, trying to hold as a key resistance or support level. You're going to want to see it hold right now. Downtrend still very much there, but it's getting real tight in and around here. And we could see some upside break. The level I'm looking for on here is a break above this, 60, 61 level or so. And if we can get above that, could see another rally on this guy here. Let me look at the 1 hours. Some good buy volume coming in on the 1 hours. So it's trying to find some support here at this low. I've got to keep an eye on that one here. We did PIVX, kind of just pulling right back to a breakout point. Needs to hold that one right now. Neo, I like Neo. Let's see what else we got here. Who's in the game for less than 6 months? How many of you guys are in here? Let me ask you this. How many of you guys are here for since November forward? Are you guys just buy and hold, or do you guys trade? Neo, let's take a look at Neo. November, cool. Neo's selling off a little bit. Let's see if we can hold this support. May, buy and hold. All right. Cool. Trading. Both. And I do both. Swing trading. Cool. Mostly hold, small trading. Yeah. And so the market goes through cycles right now. And, I do both. And let me go back to my BTC chart and kind of share some thoughts, right? When you're looking at the daily chart, like we saw last year in this environment right here, right? This generally, if you get the good projects, holders, the hodlers, they tend to do better, right? But if you're trading, you can mix in a little bit of trading to kind of get out of the way during these pullbacks. And if you do it right, you end up with more net coin during those pullbacks. But during some of these more protracted corrections like we're seeing now, right, holding is a little bit more painful because you see the low and then you see a new low and then you see a new low, and that just makes it tougher. But it's a mixed bag. I mean, if you're picking newer, younger names, they tend to be going up anyway. Like we've seen, there's some names that are outperforming. And in this environment, tends to favor the trading a little bit more because you're a little bit more flexible. You can get in and out a little bit more and catch some of that, but it's a lot more work. And you're trading with the trend not in your favor, so that also makes for some tough trading. But it's good to know a little bit of both. And even if you don't trade, but you know how to read the charts and read overbought, oversold conditions, support levels, resistance, all that, it definitely helps with the hold side because then you can time your entries and exits a little bit more and kind of be a little bit more optimal in when you accumulate and add new coin. So it comes in handy either way. Thoughts on mining? I don't do any more mining. Actually got started mining when I first learned about crypto and Bitcoin, and I thought this is cool. And then I learned about mining and built a rig, and my first coin was Litecoin, first coin I ever mined, and did that for a little bit. But I live in Arizona, and it gets super hot, and I didn't do cloud mining or anything back then, and it was just like, no, this is not going to work. So just started doing more direct investments in it at that point. Sold the rig, used all that money to buy some more coin, and the rest is history, as they say. How does the node investor not do master nodes? What's a good master node? What do you guys think I should do that I can afford? I should do some nodes, master nodes. Been hodling for 3 months. Yeah, sometimes the best is hodling. Pick the good ones. Dash. Yeah, I know Dash. Can't afford the Dash anymore. EOS, let's take a look at some of those. Yeah, I was thinking about Zcoin. Thought about that. Pivx Masternode's 100K. Hey, Pivx looks like it's only getting started. That'd be good. Pumps 2 to 3 coins a day. Not too bad. Not too bad. Z Classic, yeah. Maybe. All right. Am I hodling BTC? Yes, I am. We've got some BTC, got some Ethereum, some others. Certainly have been a little bit more active in movements, but capital to work into the crypto markets when the big washout happened last week, and we were below the 10s, and I thought, this is crazy. Got to do some more. I bought some more. Yeah, let's do NAV. And what was the other name you guys mentioned here? Hold on. QuantStamp. Walton Masternode. All right. That'd be interesting to look at. Walton. So let's see here. NAV. Let me go to NAV. Bittrex got more history here. Verge. Verge is right at support. I'm not in Verge right now. I'll take a look at the chart again and we'll cover it again. But looking at this one here, this is NAV on the 4-hour. So still pulling in a little bit, trying to break finally. I mean, it looks like it's trying to hold. That downtrend is trying to reverse a little bit, starting to go sideways. A lot of these names are, which is good, right? They're just trying to round out here, maybe finding a low here. Smaller cap name, lower volume name, but I like this one. I think this is a good one to look at this year. What was the other one? QSP. So let me zoom out here, going to the 4-hour chart. A little double topish, but you can see there's a little bit of an argument for an equilibrium pattern, but right now it's just really rounding out this base here. That's the support level you want to watch on the upside. See if this resistance level can get taken out here pretty soon, and if you do, that's going to be the next level to watch is right up in here. And let me see here. It's not bad. Good 20% to the upside from that point on, but kind of in the middle ground there. Not exactly strong or weak either. All right, so we'll do a couple more, guys. We've been going here for a little while now, and we will wrap it up. I think we've been going for about an hour and a half. Let me hit some of the big names again, go through some of my list, and then we'll call it done. So BTC, I'm feeling much better about it in the near term. I think we're finally trying to establish a pretty good low here. Want to see some more upside confirmation, and particularly a close above 11.4K or so. And let me see, I was using Bitstamp as kind of the chart there. So let me go there to keep it the same. So that's the level I'm looking at, right? I want to see it close in and around that level to the upside, but we're seeing some interesting action here on the 4-hour chart. A little bit of a double bottom within a bigger double bottom, and so need some more upside confirmation. Otherwise, it's just going to be a little bit of a wedge. If we pull back, then the level I'm going to want to see hold is at 10.7K in and around there. That's the level that would still maintain this higher low pattern. And looking at the 1-hour chart, you can see it's almost starting to form a little bit of an ascending pattern here with the lows starting to creep up here. So got to keep an eye on this little bit of a support level that it's putting in. And I think in the next day or so, we're going to really see the next direction that's going to want to go. But I'm looking for some upside here, just real choppy right now. And this market just calls for a little bit more patience, right? Don't get too aggressive one way or the other. Don't sell everything. Don't buy everything. I'm just taking it easy, just kind of watch and see how this play out. But so far, in the last couple of days, this downside testing has been finding some good support. So that's of the big three. I think Ethereum's the strongest one. trying to break out here above this little bit of a resistance near term. So that's looking pretty good. And I think that was it. So we looked at Litecoin. We looked at most of the big names. And just to recap, some good strong names out there. Waves, Cardano is trying to break trend to the upside. ARK is testing upside resistance. Let me see. We saw ICX. We saw ELF, Lisk. Keep an eye on that pattern. And I think I'm overdue for a newsletter update, so I'm going to send that out. I will include some of these charts in that. If you don't get the newsletter, I'll usually link them to Twitter, so you can follow me on Twitter. Otherwise, go to noteinvestor.com. You can plug in your email address there. It's free. You'll get the newsletter when that comes out. And I'll kind of rehash some of these charts and some of these names to keep an eye on here in the next couple of days. Again, everything just kind of is depending on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin has a big smackdown, then you could see some of these alts sell off again. So that's the nature right now. That's where we're at. Very choppy markets, but feeling a little bit better. Let me just put it that way. I'm just near term feeling a little better about some of the action I'm seeing. Big picture, though, we're a long ways from rounding the corner and calling this done, right? We still have this lower high pattern being formed. And I think if we do rally, that's going to be a key resistance test, kind of going into that 13, 14K range. And we'll go from there. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and let me see. I'll do I got to look at the charts. Let me do Decred real quick. And let me pick some other ones off of this list here. I think I did most of these already, guys. Did 10x. I'll do Decred, 10x, and Monaco, and we'll call it done. And then just look out for that newsletter. I'll kind of cherry pick some names that are setting up and send that out to you guys. So Decred, looking at this one here, you know, this uptrend is still in place, starting to flatten out a little bit, roll over, but still looking pretty good from a long-term perspective. Off the lows, I mean, just still strong, stair-stepping its way up. So I still like this one here. It's been holding up pretty well, considerably. Kind of flagging out right now. Big volume, pulling in a little bit, but very quiet, very constructive pullback on this one. So I like Decred. We did Pay. Pay is one I'm watching here. A little bit of a range that it's in right now. It's trying to test this resistance here to the upside, rounding out a little bit of a base at the low end. So pretty good here. I'm liking 10x, but it's still very much range bound. But it feels like it's setting up here. Maybe wants to pop to the upside. And then Monaco, a little bit more choppy, not quite as strong, but held up a little bit better, I guess you can say. So not too bad. Not too bad on Monaco. Let me see here. This, you know, it's almost a little bit symmetrical now, right? This is really starting to tighten up. So, all right, cool, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining. Hope you appreciate the chart reviews and my thoughts on Bitcoin. Hit that like button, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel as well as the newsletter. You get my updates. So I'll keep you guys posted. Until next time, take care, everyone.